Hi guys, this is Chloe from Boxwood Avenue. I am going to be showing you a tutorial for tap paper today. So I'm going to make a quick pillow. The measurements for my pillow are 20.5 inches by 20.5 inches, and I'll use a 20 by 20 inch insert in it. So I found this image. It's a cow, a sheep, and a chicken. You've probably seen it before, sitting on top of each other. I'm going to put this pillow in my entryway. The image originally was sized for an 8 by 10 piece of paper, but using block posters, my favorite resource, I was able to resize this image to print on 4 sheets of paper. Block posters will then give you a PDF. I've downloaded my PDF, as you can see above, and printed it out. Now when you print it out, make sure that you size it down to 90% or fit entire image to page. That way you're going to be left with a little white border all the way around each page. Now I've gone ahead and cut my image because I didn't think you'd want to sit here and watch me cut paper. But you can see that I've cut as close to the edges as I could. And I've left little white tabs to fit together. So on this one, I've completely cut off the white tab. But on this one, I left little tabs. So I'm going to put tape there, double stick tape, or you could use painter's tape on the back, but I like double stick tape better. So I'm going to put double stick tape here and here, and then I'm going to layer it together like this. I don't know if that's good, but I'm going to layer it together so that way my image will transfer as shown. I won't have too much overlap. I won't have anything that's kind of cut off. So I'm going to go ahead and put my tape on. And I use just like a really tiny bit of tape. Now, as I said before, I used to think that the tape was melting and causing like a little red line. You might see it if you leave too much white on. But what I think it is that this white tab, I used to leave the whole thing. And I think that it would melt onto the back of this, and when it melted, for some reason it turns red, and then it would kind of crease into my fabric. So I found just having a little bit of white is okay. So I'm going to layer this together. And try not to have any white showing in between my images, or my pages. And sometimes the double stick tape does not cooperate, but looks like I've got a good match here. So you can see there's the top of my image. And when you go and load your poster onto block posters, make sure you reverse the image if there's text. You'll be really sorry that you go out and print and start to transfer and realize that your text is going to be backwards if you forget to reverse your image. So I'm just continuing taping this. Sorry that this is taking a while. So now I've got, oops, this part of my cow, you can see. And now, oops, it's not sticking. I'm going to tape the top and the bottom part together. There is my image that I'm going to put onto my fabric. So I've got my fabric laid out. I've got it kind of square on here so I know that my image isn't going to be crooked. I'm going to place it down, face side down. I'm going to line it up like this so it's pretty square and straight. Although it's not perfectly square, it really doesn't matter too much because your pillow's going to billow out, so you won't be able to tell. So my iron, I've heated it up. It is, oops, it was off. But it has been heated up. It's hot to the touch. It's on the highest setting. I think the hotter the better. You're not going to burn this paper. You're really not going to burn your fabric either. So I'm going to let this heat up a little bit. And what's so important is the second I place my iron onto this paper, the ink is going to immediately start melting. So it's really important that you go at it with confidence. don't second guess yourself. I became so frustrated throughout the past year when I was selling pillows. I was constantly having to redo pillows, and I think it's because I wouldn't apply enough pressure right away. And one day, even after I had taken pillows off my Etsy shop, I was making a pillow for a friend, and I noticed that immediately that ink had started to melt, and it was kind of like one of those light bulb moments. And I thought, oh my gosh, how stupid have I been? I've been kind of babying the fabric. So don't baby it, just go at it with force and pressure, and okay, here we go, I'm gonna go. So I'll generally start on a corner and not in the center. So I'll start down here, and I'll go. I'm using a ton of pressure. My arm is gonna be tired by the end of this, and I'm moving my iron a little bit. Once I think that side's good, I'll go to this next spot, and I'm pressing really, really hard. And I'm moving just down slowly to make sure that every point has had enough pressure. And where your pages overlap, it's super important to apply even more pressure, because the page on top will sometimes not transfer very well. It's my iron telling me it's getting too hot. So I'm going to move on to this spot. Now when you get to the end, don't wimp out. Make sure that either the top or bottom or the other corners of your image are really, really ironed, because sometimes I'd get a little bit lazy. I wouldn't do the top for as long because I generally start at the bottom, and I'd pull my paper off and the top wasn't transferred. So it's important that you don't give up. So now that I've pressed real hard on every space, I'm just going to take the tip of my iron and I'm going to go kind of along the edges, along places that I think, oh, might need a little bit more. I'm going to go where the pages overlap, I'm going to rub those a little bit. Rub the top, my little chicken, get the corners over here. And once I think everything is all transferred, I'm going to reheat up the whole thing, and I'm going to start to take my paper off. So the first time I ever did this, I can remember it thinking, oh my gosh, this paper is stuck to this fabric forever. I've just wasted a ton of time. I was a little bit upset, but really the trick is the paper needs to be hot to get it off of the fabric. So I'm going to use the tip of my iron. I'm going to heat up this little corner right here, and I'm going to try and peel it off, and it starts to come off. If it doesn't, just use the tip a little bit more to get it off. So now this is kind of a technique. You can use whatever you want. This works best for me. I'm going to let my iron sit on the fabric, and I'm using my finger. You can't probably see, but the little corner that's already up, I'm slowly peeling it off as the iron moves this way. So I'm peeling up this way and the iron is moving this way. That way the paper remains hot and I'm not going to have any sticky spots. So I do this really slowly, and I peek, and as it comes up I check to make sure everywhere is transferred. If there's a spot that hasn't transferred, I'll go back, like say something didn't transfer right here. I'll go back and I'll repress the paper down and I'll use my tip to really rub that spot in, and that will generally fix any problem spots. But this is looking pretty good. Good. So this is starting to come up. Okay, and so now I can pull this part off. Make sure everything's transferred really well before I remove the top. I'm going to get the little chicken's head a little bit better. Remove that. Okay, so I'm going to start to the other side now. Make sure your iron doesn't touch any of this freshly transferred stuff. it will smear and you'll ruin the whole thing. So I'm going to use the tip of my iron to get this corner right here. Get it up. And I'm going to use my iron to reheat up this seam. And voila! Oops. So now I'm done with the paper. Here's my pillow. But you might notice when you're transferring that there's little film. So I'll go back with my iron and I'll kind of blend with the tip without touching any of the ink. I'll blend the film into the fabric. That way you won't be able to tell this was a transfer. So any spot where you see this film, it's kind of clear, I'll go back and I'll blend it all together. Now be careful because I've ruined pillows doing this by hitting the ink and smearing the ink. So just be patient, take your time doing this part. So I think that looks pretty good. There you have it. If you have any tips of your own, any problems, any troubleshooting advice, leave it in the comments. I'd love to include it in this blog post, and I hope that you have a great crafting day.